to another episode of GBLOC's Go Deeper podcast series. It is my absolute pleasure to have Liz Hershfield here. She is a GBLOC member as well as a sustainability and ESG expert, establishing award-winning initiatives in support of people and planet. She is the founder of Greenish, where she offers full service sustainability and supply chain advisory and consulting. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Sheila. Happy to be here.
Amazing. So let's get started. So tell us your why. What do you consider to be your purpose or your mission in the world? And what experiences in your life shape that?
So it's a great question, and I love personally to learn and to evolve. And I feel fortunate for having had a career and an upbringing that has allowed me to kind of just be a real absorber of information. And I just always want more information. I want to learn. And so I think, as I think about my purpose, I think educating and informing people, but in a joyful and positive way is something that I think is really important. And there's so much learning to do around the environment and ESG and, how to move that forward and really impact climate change. And I think, my mom was a single mom. She was an immigrant from Morocco. She got her PhD. She spoke 5 languages. She was supremely intelligent and very worldly. And we traveled the world at a young age, and I got the bug there. And I really became very just interested in other cultures and really excited to experience new things. And I think that that's kind of what led me to where I am today.
Wonderful. Can you share a little bit of, I know I mentioned ESG and you did as well, but for those people who may not know, how would you define ESG?
Well, in layman's terms, ESG is environmental, social, and governance. And it's really those 3 things that are strategies within a company, right? And really, as you think about the world today, most every big company has to have some sort of goals or progress showing around the environment, around their social kind of work that they're doing. And the governance piece is really important because how do you actually ensure that that's happening, and how do you hold the company accountable? If you're setting goals, how are you achieving them? How are you showing progress? What does that look like? How do you report out on it? So it's been a kind of a trendy term as of late, but I think ESG has kind of taken over the traditional sustainability terminology.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the one big idea you would like to offer in the world, and why? What do you hope will happen as a result?
Well, one thing I'm really passionate about is soil health. And I became passionate about it because a lot of the apparel brands that I worked for, the primary component in the fabric was cotton, and cotton comes from a farm. And so as I got really invested and inspired by sustainability, I learned that if we could repair the entire Earth's soil, we would reverse climate change. And it sounds like really simple, and actually repairing the soil is really simple, but doing it on that broad of a level is very difficult. The Earth's soil really has been destroyed by industrial farming practices, and going back to more indigenous practices is what repairs the soil in kind of layman's terms. So my big idea is how can we all work together to repair the Earth's soil by transitioning this idea of regenerative farming, of indigenous practices, and thus reversing climate change, right? And it's that one thing could reverse climate change, which is amazing.
That's incredible. Wow. And what are the ways in which you cultivate meaningful connections? And tell us about that.
Yeah. If I would call myself an introverted extrovert. I love to be around people. I'm great, speaking and meeting folks that I don't know, but I like my quiet time also. It's really important to me. But with that, I enjoy getting out there and just, going to conferences, joining groups, meeting new people and really expanding my horizons. I think that is helpful. I also love connecting with people who maybe have different views from mine. And really understanding their viewpoint, because I just think it's really important. And I find that, as different as the world seems today, most people are more similar than they think they are. So I think talking and meeting people and being really open is really exciting. And then constantly just learning and absorbing information from these groups and these conferences and my travels and folks that I meet along the way.
Mm. How do you usually like to break the ice? Let's say when you're like meeting someone new, like what's kind of your, I'm curious, like what's
Yeah, I mean,
kind of
look,
your
I mean,
go-to?
I think I don't know if I have a go-to. I have heard some people come up with like some good go-tos, like, asking, how their day was, or just something simple like that. Maybe not leading off with work, even if you're in a
Mm,
conference environment. Sometimes I like to ask, obviously where they're from, or like, how, are they traveling? Like, it kind of just depends to me on the environment and the person. So I think it just depends on, I don't know if I have a go-to, but it's a good question.
yeah, I was just curious. It just came up, so
Yeah,
I thought
no,
I'd
it's a good question.
poke that in.
Yeah. For me, it's like in the moment. I think some people like
Mm,
it's really good to have a thing that you ask someone always.
got it. Um, so you shared a little bit about, so this next question is actually about contributions and what the
Mhm.
contributions you make. You spoke a little bit about, soil health and how do you contribute in that? What does your contribution look like in that world around soil health?
Well, some of the work that I started, while I was working my last role, was really focusing on partnering with US cotton farmers and really incentivizing them to transition to this idea of regenerative farming, which does take investment because it is additional inputs for them. Ultimately, it does end up really impacting them positively, but it doesn't start off that way. And so, that was about 4 years ago when we started on that journey, and regenerative agriculture was just kind of a burgeoning idea at that point. It was starting to come up. It was something that we just felt really passionate about. I did specifically because it was really scalable. And so not only were we on a mission to actually just be like incentivize as many farmers as we could to kind of join this, but also to kind of get the word out, right? In the industry,
Mm,
like regenerative is really amazing and kind of grow regenerative. And so we did that. I spoke a lot about it. We did a lot of, just marketing of it. And, coming off of that, I was really thrilled to see an annual report from the certification body that we used, which is the biggest one for regenerative cotton and coffee, and it's called Regen Agri. And they had actually in 3 years' time, the increase in regenerative cotton actually represents 10% of the overall global cotton
mm,
output annually, which is enormous when you think about organic only represents 1.4%, and that's been around for a really long time. So in continuing that work, I'm continuing to work on that side of the industry. I'm working with some nonprofits to kind of bring some like initiatives to life that can scale regenerative even further for brands and make it really easy for them to kind of commit to regenerative cotton. So it's been pretty exciting.
that sounds incredible. Um, so at the moment, what communities are you part of and why? How do they add value to your life?
I mean, it's a great question too. Like I'm a member of a couple members clubs. I joined a new kind of social networking kind of like startup, which it's really fun, and they host dinners every month and they're Jeffersonian style. And it's really introduced me just like a group of people that I probably never would have met otherwise and been really great. And then, it's informal business communities. I think that particularly in the sustainability world, there's a lot of just kind of like getting the professionals together and just kind of networking and chatting. And, I think that I get energy from that. And it's always great to connect with folks in the industry.
That's great. And if you could, what types of connections are you looking for now, or what kind of people would you like to meet that maybe you're not meeting at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because obviously when you're targeting, like when I'm going to something that's being put on by folks in my sphere, it's all exactly like the same work
Yeah.
that I do, the same type of, industry. And then if you think about like the social networking, it's intended to kind of bring diverse people together. I wouldn't mind like being able to connect the two, right? Like it would be kind of
Mm,
fun to be able to bring diverse backgrounds together from sustainability, but maybe in different industries.
mm,
Which happens a little bit here and there, like during big like climate weeks and things like that. But it would be kind of fun to do that, I think.
cool. And what qualities and values do you look for in new connections?
Definitely openness, kindness, I think is being kind is really important. Different from being nice. I think being kind is more just like, treating people well. Positive energy. I think you can feel people's energy. And then also people that I can learn from. I love to learn new things. So that's always something that I am attracted to.
Hmm. And what are you most like interested? Is there like something in particular right now that you're going down a rabbit hole around, or a topic of interest that's really
I
calling to you
mean,
at the
what I'm
moment?
going down a rabbit hole right now is politics because you can't stop. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just like such a consumer. And finding really the information and not a bunch of people's opinions or, biased things is really hard. So that's right now what I've been really, really super focused on. Also the other thing is like all this on the totally different thing, but connected to all this legislation that's going on for sustainability in the EU and the US.
Hmm.
That's actually really important, and something that I am continually studying because it changes all the time and it's very hard to keep up with.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, how do you, especially in the world of like social change and sustainability, right, and climate change, which can be really heavy. How do you keep your positivity and how do you keep your joy alive?
It's a really good question. It's actually funny. I'm working on kind of a research paper now with an organization that does a lot of work in the industry about like the power of the positive. Because I
Hmm.
actually think that in the industry, there's so much negative press around, oh, we're not going fast enough. Oh, this is awful. Oh, the earth's getting hotter. And it's true, that is happening. But I do think that that doesn't make people actually want to move forward. It actually
Mm,
discourages people. So for me, it's really like the little wins and how do you like show progress and then get excited about that progress and how do you actually then make it something much grander. Which that to me is like the little stuff you have to be happy about and kind of keep
hmm.
pushing forward on.
I got you. Um, so if you were running GBLOC for a day, what would you do with the community and why?
I mean, I would love some like local in-person events because I'm sure there's folks from all over the country. And could there be like a little local chapter that does something once a quarter? I think it'd be great to meet people in person and just kind of understand like the different array and like the diversity of the folks that are there in terms of their backgrounds, what they do for work, like where they live, like who they are. I think that would be great.
Okay, we might make that happen.
Yeah, good.
Um, so before we close, is there anything else you'd like to share with the community?
I mean, I would just encourage everyone. A lot of people think with sustainability that they can't make an impact, but like your personal choices do make an impact. And when you think about things like regenerative farming, regeneratively farmed food, organic food, just clean products, when you make those choices, you create demand, and then that allows that part of the industry to grow. And so I think it's really important, like, and it's also important for everyone's health to actually make those choices. So I would say just be like really thoughtful about your purchasing choices, how you purchase things, how fast you ship things to yourself from Amazon. Do you really need that thing? Like just being more focused on consumption, I think is also something really important that we as individuals can really make an impact.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing all your wisdom, your experiences, and we're so grateful to have you part of GBLOC.
Thanks, Sheila. Glad to be here.